Hey friends, welcome to We Read It One Night. Like we said last episode, Rachel and I are taking a break on recording new episodes until the new year. So at the end of this coldest of winter months, please snuggle up with us and listen as we chat about ICE Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon. Enjoy the show. So this book is about aliens abducting young fertile women.
We haven't even said what the book is yet. ICE Planet Barbarians.
Well, I was going into banter.
Oh, yeah.
This was my intro.
Oh, okay.
To the banter section.
Okay.
The book is about ladies getting abducted and then getting stranded on a different planet, full of, you guessed it, ICE Planet Barbarians, by Ruby Dixon, and someone that I think probably, if this was real, like someone that I think probably would have been a target for abduction was Nancy Reagan. Because Nancy Reagan, for those of you who are not aware, was the blowjob queen of Hollywood before she was the first lady. So if she can like give everyone in Hollywood a blowjob, who's to say she can't give aliens blowjobs too?
It's true. As long as she was, I don't know, healthy. I don't know. I'm not sure what goes into that. Like, I think the romance portion of this book really like understates the horror of being like ripped away from your family and friends and like literally your entire world and species. It's just like, so like,
I guess we should say before we start, trigger warnings for this. Obviously kidnapping, because it's about alien abduction, but I think sort of the main trigger warning is like pretty violent sexual assault
within the first like 5 minutes.
Yeah, with it very early on in the book, not to the main character, and it's not like explicit, but it is, it's very.
And it's the bad guys doing it. It's not like people we're supposed to like, obviously, but yeah. Also, possibly sleep paralysis trigger warning. Like, not really, but when she's like, the way she's described when she's like waking up from like the drugs they've given her, it just really reminded me of sleep paralysis. And then the sleep paralysis demon book that you mentioned that I'm having trouble finding, but like
I think it's called like Sing Me to Sleep. We'll link it.
Okay. I Googled that and like all that came up was like basically an Onion article, reductress, whatever. I was like, woman falls in love with her sleep paralysis demon. They finally tie the knot. Like, it was just like I think we have a trauma bond that will last for life. It just makes me think about like The Bachelor, how it's always like very, at least in the early days and like still like to this day, they still go like bungee jumping and stuff. It's like, we'll talk about how, oh yeah, they're just like making them go through traumatic experiences together because that makes you like, you know, feel closer to a person faster. And for some reason, I just never connected that with like the idea of an actual like trauma bond, but like it is the same thing. They're just like creating, it's the same thing.
I personally think the reason they don't make them scale down buildings anymore, like they did in earlier seasons, is because like the whole show is traumatic. Like they don't need like those traumatic dates because the whole thing is super fucked up.
Didn't they have to like start cutting back on their alcohol consumption? Like it used to just be a free for all, and now they're like careful.
Yeah, now it's 2 drinks per hour, I think, but it's not like Becca M, who was on several seasons ago of The Bachelor. I listened to her podcast and she was saying that like you can get around it, but because like by 2 drinks, it's like any drink. So you can get like a whiskey on the rocks versus like a glass of champagne, and those both count.
Or like a whiskey on the rocks that's like 5 shots in the
Sure, but that's what I'm saying. Like there's not like, if you want to get drunk, there's like ways to get drunk, basically, is what I think she was saying.
Yeah.
Anyway, hot tips. If you go on The Bachelor, don't get drunk. Like you're gonna be the villain like real quick if that happens to you.
For sure. But I feel like it would also just, well, I don't know, it depends. Like it seems so horrible that you have to stay up like all night, and I just feel like the time passes faster if you're wasted.
My thing is like, I think if I were on The Bachelor, there's like a very good chance that I would just like quote unquote go to the bathroom and then just like take a nap on the floor for like an hour. I would like talk to the lead. I'd be like one of the first people to talk to the lead. I'd be like, I'm not faffing around with this. Like I'm just gonna get this out of the way, and then I would just like go take a nap.
Oh, you could bring the travel blanket. So one of our friends recently gave us a Christmas present that's these awesome like Vera Bradley blankets, but they fold up into like a pillow. So it's like really
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, it would be perfect. You could definitely like stuff that under your shirt. Like
They have a little strap so you can put it like around your suitcase. Well, I don't think I would have to stuff it around my shirt, Rachel. I would
under
literally
your,
just like have it.
well, do they let you like access your stuff? You know?
I don't know. I feel like I could sneak away somehow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just like have it in the waiting in the wings. Like I don't know
I
if they
don't
let you
know.
like I guess the first time you see the house is like in the limo. I don't know how it works. But you could like stick the strap on like a plant in the garden and then like scoop it up on your way.
Well, you're coming from a hotel to the house,
Oh,
so like I don't think you would be able
rats.
to set up anything ahead of time. I think that
Yeah.
would be taken out. I don't know. I'd have to strategize more. But never
Mm,
fear. I
mm.
do intend to audition for The Bachelor. I think I would be an excellent Bachelor contestant. I think I would be a horrible lead. Like that just sounds like my worst nightmare, as well as Bachelor in Paradise. But
This is what you do. You bring the pillow blanket as like you know sometimes they'll bring like it's like a present for the lead and they're like, "Oh, this is like to symbolize our
oh,
future like both sleeping and traveling together." But then the lead is never like, "Oh yeah, let me just hold this the whole rest of the time." And they give it
they
back to you to
give it.
hold for
No, they give it
them.
to a producer.
Well, sometimes they give it back
If
to
it's a
them.
gift, it depends. There's like prop versus gift. If it's a
Sure.
gift, you give it to the lead, and then like by the next shot, they've given it off to a producer.
Sure.
But yeah, I could be like, here's to waking up in bed together every morning on our next adventure.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Yeah.
I've got it.
Yeah.
And then like I flash him a tit so he keeps me around for
Yeah,
the
like
next
let
week.
me keep this so that I have an excuse to like talk to them later or something.
Yeah. And then we can nap together. I'm fine with napping with the lead.
Napping
Like
on a
as long
plane.
as I
First
get
class, baby.
I'd go up to like one of the producers and I'd be like, okay, I want to set like a cute little like picnic date area up, but it would really just be like a bunch of pillows and like blankets and like we could just nap. And the lead is definitely also going to be exhausted, like even more so than me because he has to talk to everyone. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think we can make this work. I think we've got it figured out. If any
Yep.
Bachelor producers listen to this podcast,
You didn't hear it. You didn't hear
yeah,
this.
forget everything that you just heard. I was for legal reasons. This was all a joke. Like just keep that in mind.
Speaking of sleeping in possibly uncomfortable places,
Oh my god.
Ice Planet Barbarians starts with Georgie, the main character, going from having a very nice, comfortable dream in her own bed to waking up on an alien spaceship. Yeah, very traumatic. I like that she has like a slight southern accent for no discernible reason because she's from Orlando. And like maybe I'm totally wrong, but I'm pretty sure people from Orlando do not have southern accents.
Well, she lives in Orlando now because she works as like a bank teller, but like she could just be from like anywhere in Florida.
Yeah, we know she's far from her family. That's true. Yeah. But she is like later, she's like, oh, I'm a southern girl. That's why I'm like used to the heat and I don't like the ice. Like, I don't like the cold.
It's fucking hot in Orlando. What are you
I know
talking
it's hot.
about?
She's like, I'm a southern girl, you know? Like, yeah,
Okay,
technically
again, Florida's in the
well,
south.
technically, but like, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but like,
And
any Floridians out
Orlando is
there.
in the middle. Like, I think you're conflating like Orlando and Miami because like Orlando is in the middle of fucking nowhere. The only thing in Orlando is Disney World and Universal, and then you go outside and it's not a huge city.
But it's very much not culturally the South. Like, if you're below the Panhandle, I feel like it's not culturally the South. Maybe it's not culturally Miami either, but like, I feel like it's very different. I feel like it's closer to like, I have no idea. I don't know. I might be.
We
totally
don't have
off,
to. We don't have to speculate about George. She's a Southern girl. That's really all you need to know, Georgie. Yeah, she wakes up in a jail cell and she meets Liz, who's our spunky friend. And I am so excited to read Liz romance, which I predicted, and Rachel doubted me, but I predicted exactly who she was going to get a romance with. So Liz is our spunky. She's also been human trafficked. They figure out real quick. They're like, we have been taken. They're all 22, mostly American, young women, none of them pregnant except for one.
Oh, God.
And a trigger warning for this. Like one of them was 2 months pregnant, Megan, I think. And she had like essentially like a forced abortion. So that was horrible.
Yeah.
It's really like, I don't know, like the tone of this is like very almost like lighthearted and spunky. And like Georgie has like a really like fun voice, but like the first like 3 chapters are super dark. Like,
yeah, like you somehow forget like what they've all been through the story. But like I started the second book and it starts off with like so okay, so there's these like 9 women in the jail cell, but we find out that there's also 6 more women who are like in what's it called, like cryostasis. They're like in pods, so they're not awake. And so like in the second book, when the other 6 women get woken up, I like once again was like, oh my God, like they're just like they didn't experience anything that the rest of the women are experiencing. They just like wake up and they're here and like they're finding out what happened. And like just like that's when it really hit me. I was like, wow, like you wake up and you're never gonna see your family again. Like you're
No.
never gonna like nothing. It's all gone. It's just
No, it's
crazy.
horrible.
And it's crazy. It's just like amazing that I feel like the author Ruby Dixon just somehow makes you not fixate on that. Like I don't know
Yeah.
how, but I also kept forgetting that they're only 22. Like that's so young. Like your
they're all
frontal lobe is not
babies.
developed at that point.
Well, that's probably a good thing because they do have to all fall in love with like giant blue aliens.
That's true.
So maybe they need like a little bit of like mental flexibility to like,
Yeah.
twist to that. Okay. All right. So basically they're on this horrible jail cell and there are these guards that are called like like Georgie describes them as having basketball heads. And so I obviously like literally imagines just like a stick figure with like a basketball on top of it.
Yeah.
The last person to be brought in, the only person after Georgie is Dominique. And she is the one, like when Georgie wakes up, Liz is like, don't scream. Like implying if you scream, like bad things will happen. So Georgie doesn't scream, but Dominique does not heed that warning, understandably, because she has just been kidnapped. And she starts screaming and the basketball head people like take her into the room. And then all the other women are like forced to watch as they like really violently assault her. And it's like, horrible for just again like a book that is like lighthearted and like fast paces. Like the first chapters are just really get you.
Yeah. And I guess it's to like really hit us over the head with like once they've been abducted, like there are no good options. Like they are not going like a few times they're like maybe they were taking us to like a Malibu planet, but like they definitely are not. Like so one of the girl who was the first one to be kidnapped is Kira, and she's the only one with like a translator that they staple to her ear, so she's able to understand the aliens even though she can't like speak their language. And yeah, basically they are like the extra cargo. Like they had already like met their quota with the girls in the pods and they picked up some extras, and they keep like comparing themselves to like cattle, like cows. And I'm like, that's
who is it? Liz keeps being like, they've tagged us, they put trackers on our arms and they've tagged us like cows.
Yeah, and I'm like, we eat cows. That is not.
Well, that's the thing. Well, that Georgie's like, I don't know whether we're gonna be sold as like sex slaves or whether we're like being sold for like specialty meat. Like,
right?
I don't fucking know. Yeah. So Georgie is like, she is a gal with a plan. Like all these other ladies are way too traumatized to fight back, but Georgie is like, we are gonna stage an escape thing, and the plan is like for all the ladies, like her to distract the one guard.
She hauls a really impressive spit loogie on the back of his head, from like many feet away, and this is just like wow, like that's a skill.
She Titanics
that's a skill.
That shit.
Yeah, it's a skill every self-respecting Southern gal should have.
Yes, absolutely. And then all the other people are supposed to like gang up and like overwhelm him, but then they all chicken out, and so like Georgie is just like left there.
I can't
and
believe
she like
that.
throws the like poop bucket on him, and then gets it on herself, which is just
too heavy.
Horrible. But then, just as like the guard is about to like get Georgie, their like cargo hold gets like
jettisoned. So Georgie's like attacking the guard, and she gets his gun. And she's like, oh, well, there's no trigger, but it'll just work just as well as a bludgeon. And then as the ship is going down, as the poop bucket is flying all over the place, she's literally bludgeoning this alien to death. And if that is not like the most badass thing, like Georgie just comes out swinging. Like
literally.
She's literally beating this thing to death in zero gravity.
Like, yeah, like all the ladies are like floating around her, and she's like she's just taking them out. And she really does. And it's very like she's like kind of goes into like this fugue state.
Yeah.
So they finally crash land. Obviously, the guard is now dead. 2 other women are also dead. They like got their necks broken. And then all the other women, there are now, 6 of them left?
I think 7.
And they're all injured. Like Georgie has like a sprained ankle and like a broken wrist. And like they all have like various cuts and bruises. And so who's left? It's Georgie, Liz, Kira, Megan, Dominique. Who else?
Tiffany, who is like going to be passed out for most of this because she's, I think, diabetic or something.
What?
It's in the second book. Oh. That's the reason she's asleep all the time, because she's in like diabetic shock. Like,
I was like, why are you making random diagnoses about Tiffany? And obviously because Georgie is the de facto leader, they all send her out on a scouting mission.
And okay, so they choose to leave the women that are in stasis the whole time because they're like, there's no point in like waking them up in this traumatic situation and we can't really keep them alive necessarily. But like, how do they know? I don't know. It just seems like, how do they know the stasis is still intact and they're not just like leaving them to like starve to death? Like, I don't know. Like, or that they're like not, drowning or like breathing, whatever. They've landed on this planet where they can somehow breathe and it's like really cold.
They can breathe for now.
Mm-hmm. Shiv is mostly intact, but there's a hole in the ceiling where snow's coming through. So it's like pretty clear that it's not very hospitable outside. So all of them are still in their pajamas this whole time. So they're like freezing, but they do have one warm outfit and it's the guard's outfit. And
God.
Just totally brutal. Just like, I guess if you're at the point where you're being alien human trafficked, like this is the least of your work and you've just bludgeoned someone to death. They strip the guard. The clothes are like pretty warm and fit Georgie.
So she's going out alone and she also they find like some ration, like more of the rations that they've been fed this whole time. So she gets some of those like water and like these seaweed bars. And I understand that like, I guess this is their only warm outfit, but I'm still like, ma'am, why are you going out alone? Like you were going out onto like a snowy, like unknown planet.
Well, I guess like no one else can really walk. Like Liz has 3 broken toes. Another girl, I think Kira has a broken leg. Tiffany's just like passed out. Yeah. I don't know about the other people, but yeah, it seems really unwise. Like they only have one warm outfit, but like why would you go out with backup? Makes no sense.
Yeah. But she's basically like, if I don't return in 24 hours, assume that I'm dead.
Right.
So Georgie putzes off. It is brutally cold. It's like a full ass blizzard out there. There are 2 suns. There are snow. And she compares it to Hoth from the Star Wars Empire Strikes Back. So like that snow planet where like Luke has to like, gets attacked by the abominable snowman and all that shit.
There are many like Star Wars references in the first, like in this,
but
like,
which
section.
Honestly, like when she was describing this planet before, Georgie in her head was like, "Oh, it reminds me of Hoth." I was picturing Hoth. I was like, "This is exactly what I got." Like the 2 suns made me already think of Star Wars, and then like Ice Planet, I was like, "Yeah."
I was just picturing a snowy mountain with like some Dr. Seuss truffula trees in the distance, because there aren't any trees, but there's these like weird slimy stalk things with like pink fluffy tops.
Yeah, I too was picturing the truffula trees. It was at this point, I just want to say, so we, surprise, we're listening to the audiobook of this. We, unfortunately, there was a 26-week wait at the local library, so we had to cave and buy it from Audible, which is very unfortunate. But we were listening to the audiobook, and it was at this point that I realized you've heard of method acting. But have you heard of method reading? Because we were listening to this on our daily walk in the local state park, and it was freezing cold outside. It was so fucking cold. And I was like, this is really getting me in the vibe. Like, I am Georgie. Like, at any point, a giant blue alien could come out of the woods and, like, whisk me away.
Yeah, because being cold is similar for me to being, like, sick to my stomach, like having the stomach flu, in that I know it's horrible. Like, intellectually, I remember that it's horrible, but I can't actually, like, remember the feeling until I'm feeling it again. You know what I mean? Like being like viscerally horribly cold, it's just like you don't really you can't like fully remember how bad it is until you're experiencing it again. It's not like other things where like stubbing your toe,
like giving birth.
Like, sure, maybe. I wouldn't know. But like there's other things like I don't know, like touching a hot kettle. Like I can like remember that feeling, right? I don't need to touch the kettle to like be reminded how horrible it is. But like yeah, so it was very it was yeah, definitely
very in the moment. Yeah. So Georgie heads on down to the truffula trees among this snowy wasteland, and she finds like water, and it smells like sulfur. So that means it's from like a hot spring or whatever. And then she almost gets eaten by the fish aliens whose tails are the truffula trees. And she like scrambles back, and she's like, ah!
They are? What? I was like so unclear on how they were connected. At first, I knew there was evil fish in the water, but then I thought the tree like also came down to like scoop her. Oh my god!
The trees are like the tails of they're like attached to the fish.
Fuck.
Yeah, the trees are fucked. The truffula trees, not Dr. Seuss approved. Actually, Dr. Seuss had some pretty fucked up animals, so like maybe Dr. Seuss approved.
Fucked up in a good way. So when the fish went away, do the trees go with them? Do they like slide out of the earth?
No. The fish just retract. The face-eating fish.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. The fish and the trees are definitely connected. Maybe I'm like messing up that they're the same thing, but I thought there was like somehow
there's definitely a connection.
The fish are definitely some sort of the trees are definitely some sort of monster as well. Anyway, Georgie like stumbles back and she escapes, but then she gets caught in a snare, like a hunting snare. And does she see? But
the abominable snowman coming after her, like what she thinks. She sees a form coming after her right before she passes out from like too much blood to her head.
Yes. And who is that form? Not the abominable snowman, but Vectal, our hot 7-foot blue horned alien man.
Yep.
And he sees Georgie and he's like, what is this strange hairless creature? I do not understand. And I loved like the way Vectal was written. It was so like formal, like I do not understand what is happening, but I see this creature girl and my quee is resonating.
Yes, and his quee starts like purring and slash thumping for her. Yeah, he's like, it's the bitter season when hunters are many sprints away from home.
Yeah, I love it.
So at this point, I did not even realize this was going to be fated mates. But as soon as the quee got involved, I was like, oh my god, like they're fated mates with aliens.
Yeah. I really enjoyed like your shock at this. You were like, fated mates. And I was like, god. Yeah, I thought you knew that.
I didn't know that.
But we should explain the quee.
Sure.
So the quee are basically little like symbiotic little alien things that live inside Vectal and his people. So Vectal is a sock, and then because they have the quee inside them, they're the sock-quee.
Mm-hmm.
And basically the quee like keeps them alive on this planet. Like it heals them, and it like keeps them warm, and it allows them to breathe.
And it makes their eyes glow blue.
Yes. And it also starts vibrating when your fated mate is near. Yeah. And you can't have babies with anyone but your fated mate. That's important to remember.
Yep. And if you don't obey the quee, you like eventually die, I think.
Well, okay, that's something that like I think is in a later book. But basically, like as soon as your quee starts to vibrate, you like have to fuck your mate like immediately. And like the longer you wait to fuck, the more upset
angrier
your quee gets.
Yeah.
The more it vibrates.
So he scoops her up and he's like, she's not lit from within, so she must be treated as an infant because like I guess only like the sock babies don't have a quee. So he's like, she's so helpless. Like,
so he takes her to his hunting cave because, you know, there are these people that live on an ice planet. Like, they're like, we need shelter, like interspersed, like for when our hunters go hunting. And so he's in the cave and he like strips her down naked, lights a fire, like, and he's like exploring her. And he's like, why does she look so weird? She doesn't have any horns. She doesn't have any fangs. Like,
I snort at amusement at the small tuft on her badge. How ridiculous. He's like, perhaps she is sick and that's why her quee is gone.
Yes. But she's so, despite the fact that like she looks like basically just super ugly to him, like super weird, he's still so turned on by her that he starts eating her out while she's sleeping. Which, listen, friends, don't do that. Like, that's not good. You can't get consent when someone's asleep. But Georgie doesn't mind that much because she wakes up and she's like,
oh, I guess it wasn't a monster coming to eat me. It was this monster coming to eat me out.
We get so many good like pussy eating jokes in this one section.
She's like, I've dated guys I couldn't convince to go down on me, and this one's doing it as a greeting.
So we get the full description of Vectal. Like, Georgie is like, I mean, I guess it's technically not consensual, but I'm still very into like whatever this man is doing because he has a ridged tongue. So it like feels extra good. And he has a ridged cock and he has horns and he's blue and he's 7 feet tall and he has suede skin and he vibrates when he's near her. And basically in my head at this point, I'm like, okay, so Ruby Dixon sat down one day. She picked up her like large blue dildo / vibrator and was like, how can I make a romance hero out of this? And this is what we got. Like, these aliens are basically just like large blue dildo / vibrators.
He also has like an extra little like horn at the top of his dick that like is like for her clit
and or goes into your butt, like if you're going from behind.
Yeah,
it's a little ass stimulation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically he's just a giant sex toy and she's very into it. And he licks her clit and she like moans. She's like, oh my God. And he's like a little cat. And in this moment, because he like perks up and he like looks at her and he's like, that was a weird noise that she just made, but she seems to be very into it. But like, I don't know what a clit is. And I was picturing when a cat is like slowly pushing a glass off of the table and like is watching you to like see what your reaction is going to be. Like, that's Vectal now like experimenting with Georgie's clit.
Yeah. He's like, what is this weird thing? It's like a third nipple. And that's how he like continues to refer to it.
Yeah. he starts like experimenting with her clit, and she's like, all right, buddy, slow down. Like she like starts to sit up, and he pushes her back down with a stern word. He's just like, no.
And then when she's like, oh, it seems like he's like, all right, like time to like actually fuck now. And she's like, we are like eating me out is one thing, but like not today. And she like kicks him, and then he's like, my mate, my new reason for existing, has just planted her tiny strange foot in my chest and kicked, almost as if she does not want to mate.
I love him. He's
Yeah.
like, he is the definition like of a hot dummy. Like if you look up hot dummy in the dictionary, like it's Vectol. Like
yeah.
Love him.
Oh my God.
Oh, and then he notices that she's injured.
And he cups her face. Who did this to you? Classic line. Classic. And he's like, clearly the gods have sent her to me to learn patience.
Yeah, and then he's also like, she doesn't have fangs and she doesn't have a tail. She has 5 fingers and I only have 4. And he's like, God, like this is fucked up lady is my mate, but like I'm super into her.
I am fascinated and a little revolted by those extra fingers. He's like, how is he in these dangerous hunting lands with no fur and no weapons?
And no quee.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So then they have a cute scene, like a Tarzan and Jane moment, where they teach each other their names. Like she like presses her hand to her chest and she's like Georgie, and he can't pronounce it. He in fact describes it as, her name is full of garbled syllables, but I try to pronounce it to make her happy. And so he calls her Georgie because he like can't say hard G. But I think she gets like Vectol pretty well.
Yeah, although like when she like learns the language, it becomes it at first it sounds like Vectau, but then it becomes Vectol. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
So this is like the first indication we really get that like the Quee is going to be a pretty big thing here, because he's like, to lack a Quee is a death sentence. To see my mate so vibrant and yet so doomed. So we're like, all right,
so she's got to get a Quee. We get it.
And Georgie's like, he keeps purring at me, so I thought that meant he was happy. Because like after he realizes the Quee thing, he starts like pacing, like concerned.
And then he gives her some of his food. He has like rations, but they're too spicy for her. She's literally like, I can't fucking eat this. Like I'm this is gonna kill me if I try to eat it. And I can really relate to that.
But but she is like, for the first time in a long time, I felt safe. All this alien wants is oral sex.
Yeah. So they curl up by the fire, and at this point, I'm like, Georgie, I get that this like alien just gave you an orgasm and like tried to feed you and like that you feel safe with him, but your friends, Georgie, your friends are freezing to death.
Yeah, I just like, and she took like most of the seaweed bars and water and like their only warm clothes. Like, what are you doing?
So Vectol is like, now he's like, okay, so I have to like actually get her food that she can eat and water and stuff. And she gets on his back, piggyback style, and he starts running. And all I can think is hang on tight, spider monkey. I'm like, this is Alien, Edward and Bella. I get it.
At one point, I can't remember why this comes up, but he points at her, and then it's like he makes a symbol like a rocking baby. And you brought this up. Like, so when I was, it's like when I was like little, and our like kitchen table, you could like see the staircase to go upstairs, like only from one side of the table, and that happens to be the side that Stefan used to sit on. And so I would like leave the table early and like lean my head around the side of the staircase so that only he could see me, and like point at him and go like right in the air, like, you are a baby.
And you would get so upset.
And you would get so upset, like turn around so he couldn't see me.
And so I'm like, this is like Rachel is Vectol.
You are a baby.
So he catches her a rodent.
Yeah. And starts trying to feed her raw strips of meat. And it's still unclear whether that's like actually safe. Like what she eats, she finally eats it. He like pushes it in her throat, even though she's like, can we cook it? And he's like, why would you want to burn your food? You're going to burn all the flavor out of it. And he's like, eat, I'll burn it for you later.
He's like, I'm giving you the choicest pieces. I'm giving you the heart and the liver. Like,
yes.
And I'm like, oh my God.
Saving the organs for you.
I can't help thinking of, you know, in Game of Thrones in the first season when Daenerys has to eat the horse heart to like prove that she's a member of the Dothraki. So that is like a I saw like a behind the scenes thing that was actually just like a giant like gummy heart. So like she was actually eating it, but like obviously not actually eating a horse heart. And I was like, I don't know, eating a gummy heart of that size with like that much syrup also seems like it would be
Really
hell on
gross.
earth. And I'm pretty sure the part in the show, like she like gags somewhere near the end and like looks like she's about to vomit. And like I'm pretty sure Emilia Clarke was like, yeah, no, that was real. Like I was literally about to throw out this gummy heart. It was like so much.
Oh, it's so gross.
But anyway, that's what I'm picturing for Georgie because I've never actually eaten raw liver
and
or
she
heart.
eats it. But it's like unclear if like somehow humans are able to eat the raw meat of these animals, you know, because like she doesn't get sick or anything. Like I guess there is some meat that people still eat raw to this day, like beef tartare or whatever. Like I guess in some situations it could be safe. Like maybe I don't know. I just thought humans like literally weren't able to like digest raw meat. like I don't know.
Well, we can eat like raw fish.
Sure.
Too. I don't know. Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm sure there's. You know what? I'm not going to look into this. I was about to be like, I'll look this up, but I actually don't want to know.
Yeah, he's like, I'll burn it for you later. I nod at whatever nonsense she's saying.
Yeah, because they can't understand each other this whole time. Like they're both speaking different language. They have no idea what the other person is saying. And it's really funny because like obviously like when we're in Vectel's perspective and we hear Georgie speak, like it's like in English, so like you can understand like what she's saying, but like it's like pronounced in a way by the audiobook narrator, and I'm assuming also written in a way that like makes it seem like he's like hearing gibberish. And so it's just like funny to like hear that. It's like those videos that's like this is what American sounds like to someone who, I mean, this is what American
accent sounds like to someone.
Yeah, this is like English in an American accent sounds like to someone who doesn't speak English.
Yeah. I thought they did a really good job of that. It would be like, I would go to the ship. I would have found. I hate the beat. Like I don't know.
Yeah, but it wouldn't even be like sped up. Like right. They did it really well. Mm-hmm. So now he takes her to the sulfur springs and he teaches her how to drink without getting eaten.
And he does like a little test, like where he puts her down. And he's like, I want to see like what she does. Even though I don't know why she would go near the stream. She already knows about the fish. But then she like gets too close to the stream and he's like, oh my God, I have to save her. She knows like even our smallest kits like have better instincts than her. They like know this. And then he does, like so the way that they get rid of the fish is by like dropping the juice of these like red berries, and then it scares them away until the next moon or whatever. But she still doesn't really want to go back into the water after seeing the fish. And he's like, shall I stand upstream so the fangfish can devour my carcass before yours? It's just so many like great quotes.
Like he would do it. Like
he would do it in a second.
And he does, and he gets in and he's naked, and she gets naked, and they have a little like make out like handy scene, and she's thinking they go into like this natural jacuzzi, and obviously I'm thinking like, okay, it's the Bachelor, like the jacuzzi in the middle of the frozen wasteland, like very Bachelor on brand. And she's like, I have a plan and I'm gonna seduce him to help me go back up the mountain and rescue my friends. But she's also like, but like I like also just want to fuck him anyway, so like it's not that much of a sacrifice because like his dick is huge. Like goddamn.
Yeah. So they're like, they're in the hot stream, and she like manages to communicate like, take me up the mountain.
First, she teaches him how to kiss.
Oh yeah, because kissing is not a thing for the sock.
Yeah, they don't do mouth kisses, I guess, on the alien planet. And so she teaches him how to kiss with mouths, and then he also like rubs her nose with his nose, and it's very cute.
And this whole time I'm like, I recognize that they don't speak the same language, but I feel like you could find a way to communicate that there are other people who need rescue. Like, I feel like what I would do is like point to myself and then draw stick figures in the snow and be like, others, like there are other, I need to go for it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's an easy way. Like they're not easy, but like she could have tried harder. And Vectel, if he knew there were other people, he would definitely be interested in helping. Like, he just doesn't understand. He's like, I need to get her back to safety and like get her some medical attention. I don't need to be going in the opposite direction. So he just doesn't understand why she wants to go back there.
I'm trying to think, are stick figures something that are intuitive, or do we just think they look like people because
I'm not sure, but
we've been raised to think they look like people?
That's why I was saying you can make it clear that it's like yourself. You know, you could like point your arms and legs and then like draw yourself in the snow. You know,
Georgie just takes a very long time to rescue her friends. And I was just filled with, like, I know her friends get rescued because I know this is like a 20-book series and each book is about like a different lady and her alien mate. But I was filled with so much anxiety this whole time because they keep stopping for fucking breaks. And I can't even enjoy the like hot sex in this book because the whole time I'm like, oh my God, her friends are dying in their spaceship.
Yeah, it's like not fun. Yeah, no.
So he goes to take her up. It's like, fine, I'll take you up the mountain. But he's like, we have to stop at a cave for the night. Like, we're stopping at a cave. Like, it's cold. We need to get more supplies. You're fucking freezing because you don't have any fur.
And you don't have the queen, which makes you warm. Yeah. He's like very hot to the touch.
Yes. Like a werewolf in Twilight.
Indeed.
But like
much better.
Like much better.
He's like if Seth, the werewolf, was made into a species.
Yes, I agree. Oh, now this is making me want to like revisit that like Seth fan fiction I wanted to write 10 years ago. It's still percolating up there. Like, Seth was going to get a happy ending. Jacob was going to get called out for being a pedophile. Okay, we will talk about all of this Twilight related things next year. It's on our schedule. Don't worry. Yeah, next month. Okay, so she is like, we're not stopping for the night. Georgie is storming back up the hill. She's like, I am getting up this goddamn mountain. Like, what? Come hell or high water. And she falls into a cave filled with these monsters who are described as like the abominable snowman, basically.
Kind of. / puppies.
Yeah, they're described as like looking at her curiously, like puppies. And these are the Metlax. And we've heard about the Metlax from like Vectal's perspective. He's like, the Metlax are like, they're vicious. Like, they kill our people all the time. Or they've killed some of our people. They're also snowcats. I just want to throw that in there. Like, there are snowcats.
Oh, there are snowcats, yeah. But the snowcats do not follow Vectal because their memories are long and they don't like the taste of Sakui flesh. We are a bitter meal.
But apparently the Metlax have no such qualms. So they're investigating Georgie. Yeah, and Georgie is like, oh, they're kind of cute, like puppies. And I was like, these are definitely monsters, but like,
they're like the native people of this planet. Like, we're about to find out. They are the colonized people. I feel like the Metlax were probably like, oh my God, these like horrible blue intruders. Like, they came here like, hundreds of years ago, but they're finally about to die out. Like, can't wait for that. And then here come a bunch of human women to replenish their population. God. This is not a good day for the Metlax. And I can understand why they'd want to like get rid of one more obstacle.
They definitely just want to eat Georgie. They're definitely not doing this out of any sense of
protect their
species like savior. Yeah, so she starts getting like attacked by the Metlax, and Vectal just launches himself down this cave and like single-handedly beats them up. And then he picks her up and he's carrying her out, and a monster tries to attack and he just punches it like right in the face, like knocks it out in one go. And all I can picture is that part at the end of animated Disney Hercules in which Hercules has rescued Meg from the underworld, and Hades is being like, Hercules, man, let's work out a deal, like, and Hercules just punches him in the fucking face and like sends him into like the river of spirits. And like, that's it. That's exactly. And I feel like there is absolutely nothing inaccurate about that comparison. Nope. Like, that's exactly what happens here.
Yep. But I'm still like, again, back to stand your ground laws. This is the Metlax cave. They did not ask for someone to come in here and be like killing them.
They did start trying to eat her though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you have to at least be like, hey, get out of my cave. You got to give like a warning first before you start going right for the ET.
Yeah. So he's rescued her and they go back to like the cave,
and he finally cooks her food. He's like, I'll burn it to take out all the flavor. And she's like cuddling up to him like a cat. And this is when, Rachel, I was like, I realized that Georgie, like, we already knew Vectal was a cat. He fucking purrs. But I realized that Georgie is also a cat. And in this situation, he is Jeans and she is Jorts.
Oh my God. How?
He's just like constantly trying to take care of her, and she's constantly like getting herself stuck in caves and shit and like meowing to be let free. So for those of you who weren't privy to like the excellent saga of Jean and Jorts, and it was like they're two office cats at someone's office. It was like an Am I the Asshole post, and basically like Jorts was like a really dumb cat and Jeans was like his smart friend, and like there was a battle between two coworkers in which like one coworker kept trying to train Jorts to make him smarter, and the other coworker was like, he's dumb, just let him be. And it all ended with like us learning that like the coworker who was trying to train Jorts was like buttering him with margarine to like try to teach him to groom and like cause Jean to have to go to the vet for like stomach problems. Anyway, smart cat and dumb cat.
George also kept like accidentally locking himself in a closet. So like, or like falling into the trash. So yeah, in this situation, Vectau is Jeans and Georgie is Jorts.
Yep. Yeah, the resolution of that saga was that coworker agrees to no longer put margarine on any of her coworkers. Okay, so they're finally about to actually fuck, even though she's like jumping the gun. She was like planning to use this as her like her chip to get her up the mountain, but
she's just so turned on. I mean, he's her fated mate, even though she doesn't know yet.
Yeah, it's like, quote, oh like catnip to a cat. So she is definitely also a cat.
Definitely a cat. So they fuck. His dick is huge. And also he has that little clit stimulator thing. And she's like, oh, I'm not on birth control, but like he can't get me pregnant because we're a different species. And the moment, I mean, you know, I knew that like there was no way he wasn't going to be able to get her pregnant just because this is a fated mate situation. But the moment she thinks that, I'm like, who, Georgie? You got a big storm coming.
Oh my God. And then we cut to his perspective and he's like, oh, I'm so excited for the kit. Also, just to like completely hit us over the head with the cats, she's boneless, weak, and mewing yes. throughout this.
And he's purring the whole fucking time. He's just vibrating and purring.
It's like they're both like catnip to the other respective cats. So next morning,
he goes out to hunt for her to get more rats that he can unfortunately have to cook for her. And instead, he finds in the snow
Dominique. Dominique is dead. She's frozen to death. And this is when Vectau finally has the brain blast that, oh, that's why Georgie was so desperate to get back up the mountain. There's others like her and they're currently dying. And this is when we get a little bit of urgency, finally.
Yeah.
And he runs back and he like scoops her up, takes her to show her Dominique. And she's like, oh my God, Dominique, like, I hope no one else is dead. And you were like, forget you, because this whole time you were like, oh, if like, I can get over the fact that they didn't get back in time if like none of them die, but if any more people die, like it's going to be over. And then Dominique dies.
But it turns out that Dominique would have been dead. Like even if Georgie had come back within her 24-hour window, like Dominique still would have died.
Right. Okay. So they finally, with a little bit of pep in their step, book it on up back up the mountain and find the other girls. And the other girls are like understandably freaked out and they don't realize like who it is at first. They like try to throw snowballs at them.
Yeah, they have a snowball fortress, which I love. I was waiting. I was like, I wonder whether they're going to make any sort of like defense thing, like because they're in the middle of the spaceship in the middle of nowhere. Like, and they did. They lived up to my expectations. Well done.
So they finally get them to realize that it's Georgie and they come in. And it turns out that like the first, like right after Georgie left, they were surrounded by some Metcalfs. Is it Metcalf?
Metlax.
They were surrounded by some Metlax and they had to like fight them off. But then I forget why Dominique goes out.
They're outside building snowballs. They're outside making snowballs for protection. And Dominique just like runs out into the snow at that point. Yeah. She was just like, I guess, I mean, understandably, like they've all been through something traumatic, but like Dominique has really, really been like, so she just, she's like, I don't want to do this anymore. They don't really understand her motivations. Like, they don't know whether it was just, you know, her attempting to die by suicide, her attempting to go get help, her attempting
to find
Georgie, like what it was. But Dominique ran off and obviously froze to
Someone
death.
else, I think Megan tries to go after her, but like can't
She's
find
not wearing
her.
shoes. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's very sad, but at least it's not like directly a result of Georgie's procrastination, tardiness, whatever.
Thankfully, Georgie's horniness does not kill anyone in this book. Good news. And he describes it. He comes in and he sees the ladies and he's like, oh, like there are so many women because the Saqui don't have very many women. They only have like 4 ladies out of like a tribe of like 30. And so he's like, this is fucking great. Like I have a mate, like all my bros can get girlfriends. Like this is amazing. And he describes them. He's like, I have found this tribe of tiny humans. And
oh, and Kira is the only one who can understand him. And she's like, why does he keep referring to you as his mate, Georgie?
Georgie's like, what? Excuse me?
So Vectau's like, okay, well, the home caves are many sprints away, as was established earlier. So I'm not going to be able to take everyone with me, especially because they have no supplies and they're really weak. And and this is when he's like, oh, they all have the Qui sickness. And they're like, what's the Qui sickness? And he's like, well, they're going to die if they don't get a Qui.
Yeah. So basically there's like the air is breathable, but only there's like an element in there, like this
methane,
like
like
new
gas.
element or whatever. It's not like an element that we have on Earth, but it's there and it like is odorless, colorless, and it just builds up in your body for essentially like 8 days. And after 8 days, like you just die. Like you can't process it anymore. So they all have the Qui sickness. Tiffany is also apparently having a diabetic attack, which is not in this book, but
No,
Rachel has confirmed is in the next book. And so they brought like furs for them and stuff from the hunting caves. And Vectel keeps being like, yeah, I need to restock these hunting caves. And that never happens.
He
in
never
this book.
does it. No.
I'm just like, I want to be clear that Vectel did actually restock the hunting caves because that seems very important.
What happens the next time another Sakui finds a crashed human spaceship? Like they are going to be screwed.
Yeah. But so they're all like huddled under the blankets and he makes a fire for them and like he feeds them and like it's all good. And then like him and Georgie are like curled up on one side of the cargo hold and like they're like making out a little bit and then he starts trying to like take her pants off and she's like, no, we're not gonna fuck in front of the humans. And he's like, oh, my mate is modest. Like we do not have any such qualms in the Sakui community.
Yep.
And I'm like, do not fuck in front of the human. Like, these are traumatized ladies.
Someone says something. They're like, oh, like, Georgie's getting it on.
Yeah. And then Georgie's like, oh my God, no. And I'm like, Vector, come on. These are traumatized ladies. This is not the time.
Okay, so the next morning, so the plan is that Vector is going to go back with Georgie to his home cave and bring back like a rescue party. So that's what they do. After like leaving them with as much provisions as they possibly can, he leaves with Georgie. And this is when they go to the Cave of Elders. They go to this cave, and at first, the only thing Georgie notices is that it's super smooth and like seemingly a perfect like smooth cave inside. But after they fuck, they're like laying there, and she's like, what are those blinking lights on the wall? Like, that's so weird. And I was like, oh, it's me, some kind of like bioluminescent like lightning bug. But no, it's a spaceship. And she somehow realizes this right away. And it's a spaceship, and there's like a lot of ice, like layers and layers of ice have, frozen over it. And she gets up and starts trying to like chip away at it. And then Vector is like, no, use fire. And he like gets her some like fire to melt it away.
I was like shocked at this because I was like, they view this cave with like almost like religious, like this is their cave of origins. You know what I mean? Like this is like very high up. Like I think they have a religion because at one point he mentions the gods. Mm-hmm. So I was like shocked that Vector she's like trying to hack away at the Cave of Wonders.
Right.
And like the fact that he's just like, oh yes, let me help you.
Well, this comes in like throughout, but like I don't know if it would have been enough time for it to become like a religious thing versus just like they know this is where they came from, because he keeps saying like, oh, like we saw Qui live long lives thanks to our Qui. And I don't know if that's like long compared to what. Like maybe that just means long compared to like the 8 days you would otherwise die in if you didn't have it. But I'm jumping the gun here. Let's find it. So this is a spaceship. She finally gets it melted, and conveniently, it's melted at the exact right place for the exact right button to turn it on. So she's just like, well, I can press the button. First, she has like a little deliberating moment. She's like, I can press the button. I don't know what's going to happen. But like, actually, personally, I would be fine with just like not pressing it and like going back with Vector and like living with him and his like alien barbarian planet.
She's like, that's some good alien dick. Like, I really don't mind at all.
But Georgie is like very much, I'd say she's like very selfless. Like she's at no point does she consider like putting her own wants above the other women. Like she's always like, it needs to be a group decision.
I mean, in this respect, but like the rest of the book, she's putting her own horniness above the other women.
Yeah, that's true. But like,
yeah, no, she's definitely very much a leader. Like she leads by example.
Like, I can't make
like,
this decision. Yeah.
She's like, I need to discuss with the other ladies because if there's a chance of us being able to get back to Earth,
right,
we need to take it.
She's never even like, oh, I could stay here and they could leave, because she's always like, I wouldn't leave them without my help. Like I would, even though they all ditched her on the original spaceship when they planned their attack. She's still, I guess that's why she's like, they have no shit like, without me.
These ladies are helpless as fuck. Like there's no way they're getting home without my help.
Yeah. Okay. So the computer boots up, and it's like English. Human English is good. I can switch to 200 other languages if you want. And she's like, no, English is good.
20,000 other languages.
Yeah. Yes. Oh my God. So the computer basically gives her the down low. So what happened is 287 years ago, and that's for this planet. I already forgot what it was called. But this planet, which is like slightly longer than Earth years, and the planet also
longer
has like
Earth years, longer days.
Basically, we did the math on this. It's like 317 extra. It's 317 Earth years.
No, I thought it was like 350.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't know.
What happened is that a sock. She's like, the person standing next to you is a modified sock. And she's like, what's a sock?
I just want to emphasize that, like, we listened to the audiobook, so I don't know how it's spelled, but it sounds like S-O-C-K. I don't think that's how it's spelled. I don't think that's, you're supposed to think it's like a literal like sock like you put on your foot.
So 287 years ago, a sock pleasure cruiser was in this like solar system, and it had to do an emergency landing for like repairs. And so the crew and passengers were all crash landed here. We're all like stranded here. But unfortunately, like the pilot that I was keyed to, I being the ship, like he died of congestive heart failure, which that's like a long-term condition. That's not something you just like suddenly, if you're about to die of congestive heart failure, you're not piloting anything.
Maybe he doesn't know.
I don't know. But I think you would know.
The toxic air. Maybe the toxic air like exacerbated.
Well, that killed a lot of other people. And they couldn't find an alternate pilot because like so many of the other people died from this like methane situation. And that's when she finds out she only has 8 days total because of like the not methane in the air.
Less than 8 days now.
Yeah. 8 days like from when they crash landed. And the computer explains that the Sockwe that survived did so because they figured out this sock thing, which is like the Kui. The Kui is a parasite, which we explained before. Like it lets you breathe the air, it lets you like adapt to the temperature. So this is what she figures out, like, yeah, we don't even like have the choice. And she's also like, if I get this like parasite, if I get the Kui, can I ever take it out again? And the computer's like, nah, if you took it out, like you would both die almost immediately if you didn't get a new one.
Yeah. Like even if she leaves the planet.
Right. So she's like, okay, well, I either get this parasite and commit to staying here forever, or I die, or potentially the green men come back and get me. But she's like, I can't make this decision on my own.
And then also the computer like gives her an upload of its language, basically like the fish from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Like that's what this computer is. So now Georgie can speak Bechtel's language.
But I just feel like I would have so many more questions for this computer, for this ship. I'd like, how do we fix you? Who are the green men? Like maybe they're like well-known interplanetary human traffickers, and you can find out, because she's still, it's a pipe dream, but they're still holding out hope that like somehow they were going somewhere nice instead of like to be eaten or sex trafficked.
I mean, I don't think they actually ever believed that. I think
sure, but like still to know exactly what your options are, like where are they taking us? What are their weaknesses? Could we even fly their ship? Like what's the best way to take them down? Because they're considering fighting them at this point. Just, I feel like we get a lot more information from this ship.
She's had some really good alien dick, and she's like, the other options, like, I don't really care about them that much.
Yeah, but she's still very much like into giving all the other women like all their options. Yeah, whatever. So meanwhile, Bechtel's sitting here, and he's like, I snarl at the air because I don't know where this faceless voice is coming from. If it has hurt my Georgie, I will scatter it and throw its pieces into the icy sea. Oh, because after she gets the language upload, she like collapses for a few seconds.
Yeah.
And then he's like, her eyes blink open, and the pale, ugly white is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
He's constantly insulting her eyes because she doesn't have Kui eye.
And I just have a lot of questions. Like, how does this computer know the Sock dialect that they'd be speaking after 287 plus years? Has it been like secretly like listening every time someone's in this cave? Because like language without writing, and maybe they have writing, maybe not, but like without writing, languages become unintelligible after like 70 years.
Okay. So, well, Rachel, not everybody has listened to John McWhorter's series of lectures.
Listen.
Like, not everybody is as knowledgeable about linguistics as you.
I just have a lot of questions for this ship, and I feel like the ship is more than willing to give answers. But that's how it always is. It's always like this in books. Like the the character gets like a seemingly like bountiful, ceaseless source of knowledge, and then like does not come anywhere near to fully exploiting it.
Yeah. Anyway, she tries to explain like that she isn't sure she wants the Kui or to stay here, and she tries to explain that this is a spaceship and not like a regular cave, and he doesn't really get it because they just like don't have the language for like the technology she's trying to use. So like even though she can speak, it's not like he just doesn't get it.
He's like, my ancestors did come from this cave, but I imagine a flying cave moving through the skies like a bird. It is ludicrous. And she's like, yeah, I might have to leave. Like I could leave in this ship. And he's like, then I will go with you.
Oh, I love him.
Yeah.
So they finally get back to the village. Vectal is the chief, by the way. He's like the head honcho. So like Georgie like really hit the alien lottery. And we meet his boy Rahash. And the minute Rahash is described, I'm like, oh, so this is like the sexy bad boy. And I was also like, I was trying to think of like the ladies that Rahash would be paired with. And I was like, oh, it's Liz. And Rachel was like, no.
No, I just didn't know how you like immediately knew that because I didn't get the like sassy vibes from Liz, I guess, as much.
Like Liz is like the Spitfire and Rahash is like the scarred, like brooding hero. Like I don't make the rules for like, this is just how the trope goes. Because Rahash is like, he's scarred and he's like super buff, like even more buff than Vectal. And he like one of his horns is broken. He's a baddie. He's a bad boy. Not a baddie as in a villain, but like he's a bad boy. And he's very grumpy. And so they go inside, they go like in deep into this cave. And Georgie discovers that the Sakui had this like 6 spa retreat as a home, basically. Like it has like a sauna in the middle, like a spa, like hot tub in the middle, like giant lake. And like they all have their cool caves. And I'm like, this is fucking wonderful. Like it sounds pretty great. Like even though they're still living in caves, like I dig it.
Oh, for sure. Although I don't understand, like Georgie's like, oh, it feels like actually warm. But since we now know that the optimal sock temperature, room temperature is 37 degrees, how is that warm to her? And maybe like it's just so fucking cold outside that 37 feels warm. But yeah. Also, can I just say that if they don't at some point like get a snowcat pet / like domesticate snowcats at some point, why isn't that top of the list? You crash land, there's a cat-like creature. Domesticate the shit out of that.
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand why they don't have like just more pets in general.
Mm-hmm.
So they go up, and obviously Georgie doesn't look anything like a Sakui. So all the like villagers are like looking at her, and just like from the distance, you hear a small child go, "Mother, why is its face so ugly?"
Yeah. And we never find out like why there are only 4 women. Like what happened to all of them? It doesn't really make sense, but whatever. Like suspend disbelief. So Vectal makes the announcement that like they found like this new species. Vectal is like, I know she's ugly, but like she's beautiful to me. Like he gives us like a big speech, and then he's like, and actually there's like a whole nother ship of 6 more of her kind. And they're all female. And it's just like Rahash staggers.
They're all like, holy fucking shit. We could all get girlfriends. This is like Christmas. It's amazing.
Yeah. I hear comments about my missing tail.
Yeah. So he leads her to like the medical cave and she meets... What's her name?
I forgot her name. I don't know.
She meets the medical lady. She's not really important, other than the fact that her and Vectal used to fuck before the medical lady found her mate. So, that's really not in any way relevant. Georgie's and the medical like lady is like, you don't have a Kui, so I can't cure you, because the way I cure people is because my Kui is a special Kui and can like communicate with other Kuis and tell them to get a move on that healing magic. So she was like, you're fucked, but I'll give you a better splint for your broken wrist. And then when you get your Kui, we can chat later. And Vectal and Georgie have another fucking thing. Vectal organizes like the rescue party.
Sorry, Vectal, like she goes to sleep while Vectal's like out organizing things. And he's like, if you are asleep when I come back, I will wake you up by mating your mouth. Which he means kissing.
Yeah, that's what he calls kissing.
But
so they hang out there. So the rescue party has gone out. Georgie's going with them. And they get in with the ladies. And Georgie is like, hey, there's about to be a bunch of aliens in here, but you all need to be cool. And thankfully, Georgie has not at this point told Vectal that there are 6 ladies in hibernation. Like he currently only thinks that there are like the 6 ladies, including Georgie, like outside. But thankfully, he has brought 11 other people with them. So like it is very convenient, 1 lady for each man.
And I get why she wouldn't want to tell him to like not get his hopes up and like, you know, because they still haven't decided if they're going to wake them up yet or like try to leave. But we then find out that like there aren't really enough furs and like foot coverings to go around. So like why wouldn't you just say like, oh, I don't know, just make up something, be like, bring double the supplies just in case, like,
especially
because
she's like, I don't want these girls to be like forced to be these girlfriends of these aliens.
Right.
But she does get Vectal to promise. She's like, listen, even if people mate, like it still needs to be like their choice. Like, if, like the ladies, like if a guy mates with a lady and he doesn't want her and she doesn't want him, like he has to respect that. Like, you have to promise me that. So she has this assurance.
And it's like very, like, he lives up to it. Like, it's very much like reaffirmed. I can say like it appears at least like 3 times in the first chapter of the second book too. So
yeah. And so they all they jump in, and the aliens and the ladies meet, and someone starts resonating. Someone starts purring. And Georgie just like spins around. She's like, who was that? Who was Queen started purring? And like nobody will fess up to the fact that they resonated. And I love this like constant, like Georgie's constantly like, nobody will admit to like who was Queen is.
Oh, sorry, minor detail, but on the way there to rescue them, they stop at the Cave of Wonders, Elder Cave, whatever again, and like a lot of the Sakwi like learn the language thing or whatever.
Yeah.
And just a side note, Rahash is like the first one to step up and learn English.
Yes.
He's like, I'm ready.
Because guess what? Guess whose book is next? Rahash and Liz. I predicted it. Bam. And yeah, so Georgie explains the situation to the ladies. They all decide to stay. They're like, we're just going to hedge our bets. Like Vectal was really doting over you. Like, if we can get something like that, that sounds like it'll be great. Also, Georgie is pregnant. I don't know how she finds this out, but she finds this out at this time that she's pregnant. She finds out that she can get pregnant. Vectal's like, yes, you can only get pregnant with your mate. So of course that is how the queen like selects the mate for the like the strongest offspring. And she's like, are you fucking kidding me? But then she's like also like not mad about it.
Yeah. And so like the women are talking. I think Liz gives like a throwaway comment. She's like, I'll be a blue alien's mate if they'll get me a hamburger. Like, if someone brings me a hamburger. And then it's just like, we hear shuffling outside. And Georgie's like, I guess I should tell you that some of them learned English. They're all just like, quick, what's a hamburger? Like,
how do we find
I don't know why Vectal didn't learn English too. Whatever. Also, when Georgie tells Vectal, she's like, we voted that we would stay. And he's like, well, I don't know what voted is, but okay, they're staying.
There's no democracy here. And then she finally tells them about the 6 other women, and they're like, oh my God, it's like, we thought it was Christmas before. Like, now it's the 12 fucking days. It's the 12 women of Christmas. Like, this is amazing.
Yep.
And then their trackers that are in their arms start to beep, beep, beep. And they're like, oh no, the aliens are coming back. So they all scurry out of there. They wake up all the other ladies and tell them like what's going on, and obviously like most of them are freaked out, but
they dump the trackers into a cave of Metlax. Oh my God, I wrote down Metcalf. I don't know why, but he's like, let's see how the little green men like them.
Yes, and the little green men do not, but they also like, there isn't anything, they see it from a distance. They see the alien ship like come up as they're like leaving, and then just like zip away again. So, and like I was just like really hoping they would be like, the Metlax would just like launch like 50 feet in the air and like pull it down.
I feel like this can't be the end of the little green men. It's too convenient of like a conflict causing thing for future books. Also, Georgie has only now like just very recently told Vectal the whole story about how she got kidnapped and stuff.
So in order to get the Quee live in their little parasites in this giant, like very cute sounding like monster. It's just like giant, like furry deer. You know what I was picturing? Have you ever seen Princess Mononoke?
No.
Okay. Well, there's like this giant deer. It's a Studio Ghibli film.
Oh.
But there's this giant like mystical spirit deer in it that I think has like multiple eyes and like has horns. Anyway, I was picturing that deer but like furry and white with the description of this monster.
Before we found out that the Sakwi like crash landed here, I was so confused because we like found out pretty early on that they have to kill another animal to get the Quee, and I'm like, how the fuck did like this ever? How is this an evolutionary adaptation where like you literally can't survive unless you like steal something from another animal like at birth? It makes no sense, but like it makes more sense, but it's still kind of rude that they're like stealing. Also, the Quee can only live like a few minutes without a host, and every time they kill one of these giant animals, they get like a bunch of Quee, and presumably like I mean, right now there's a lot of women, so like maybe all the Quee get a host, but probably not. But normally they're just doing it for like each baby that's born, and there's only like a few babies, and they're not all born within a few minutes of each other. So like there's a lot of waste here going on here, and I don't really like that.
Yeah, I don't like that the Quee die. Anyway, they do get they kill the monster, finally take it down. Such deer, such like cute, furry, large, very, very large thing with Kui inside, and they take it out of it. They take the Kui out of the heart, and the way they get the Kui inserted is that you have to make a cut in the back of your neck, and then the Kui like burrows inside for warmth, basically. And the ladies are all like justifiably like, oh my god, that sounds so fucking gross. Like I don't want to do that. But then Georgie is the leader, so she goes first, and she gets the Kui, and she passes out. But then when she wakes up, she feels great and warm, and also super horny, because guess what? This bitch's Kui is vibrating.
The fact that she passes out and then they all still get it like before she wakes up, I'm like, I would wait. Like maybe you can't wait because it needs to be like a few minutes, but like I don't know, if someone passed out, maybe that's like normal, but you have to be like, it's like some people, if you like try to give a baby the Kui too early, like you have to wait 4 days because the baby's not strong enough, because it'll die and they'll both die. So like it's possible to die. Also, what side of the, I don't know, the neck thing, I just like really don't like
it's the back of the neck.
It's the back. Okay, back is better than front.
It's
for
the
sure.
back of the neck.
Back is fine
because he says like he puts it like, and originally I thought it's like right, she says it's like right by her like collarbone,
but that could be anywhere.
But I think it's like, but he's like touching the back of her neck when he does it. So I think it's like the back. It's like where your collarbone meets your shoulder blade.
That's okay.
So like right there is what I think.
Wow.
Anyway, she wakes up and everyone has been Kui'd up, and there are lots of dudes resonating, and Georgie is like spinning around being like, who is that? Who is that? Who is that? But she's super
no one will
horny.
Step up and admit things.
Yeah.
Someone keeps purring, but no one will step up.
Yeah. And then all the ladies, except Liz is missing because Raj has just like picked her up, scooped her up, and taken her away.
Quote, slunk off with her like a metlack with a kill.
And I look forward to reading about that experience in the next book, because I personally think that Liz is going to like punch him in the face.
Yeah. Georgie's just like, I wouldn't be surprised if he like brings her back anytime. Like, just not worth it.
Yeah. So obviously Vectel and Georgie, they like putz off, and they like just have like hot, steamy sex.
Oh, they doggy style. This is the first time.
They doggy style, and his little nub, his little clit rubber goes into her butt, and she's like, oh man,
because he's like, we normally can't do it like this, my species, because the tails get in the way, which like doesn't really fully make sense to me, because it's called like dogs have tails too. You know, other animals, it just doesn't make sense. But whatever,
their tails are down.
Yeah, I don't know, I'm not going to question it, it's fine. But
I don't know. I think it's hilarious. But she's also like, we need to add doggy style to our repertoire. And I'm like, there are no dogs on this planet. How does he know what doggy style means? Like, how does that translate? He's just like, I don't know what the fuck she's saying, but like, this is great. So we will continue.
Yeah.
And yeah, they live happily ever after, and they're going to have a little baby. And I'm pretty sure there is a sequel novella about their honeymoon that we should
a barbarian read. Honeymoon.
Yeah.
The fact that she continues to like call him a barbarian in her head the whole time.
I feel like, honestly, I feel like that's more like Ruby Dixon playing into like certain romance tropes.
Maybe.
Because I feel like the like barbarian, like innocent virgin. I mean, she's not a virgin, Georgie, but like the innocent girl.
I guess. Also, she's like constantly being like, oh, he's the alien. I'm not the alien. I'm like, sorry to hate to break it to you, but like, you are literally the alien in this situation.
Well, technically they're both aliens.
That's true.
Yeah. Neither of their species is native to this planet.
It's true.
This book was a fucking thrill. It really was.
It was great.
I like laughed and like just had so much fun reading this book. I understand like why it's been on my radar for a while, because a lot of the other romance podcasts that I listened to did episodes on it like last year. And then like shortly after that is when it blew up on TikTok. And I just hadn't, because there was like originally a 52 long week wait at the library. We've cut it in half now, but it was originally 52 weeks for one copy. I've had it on hold for a long time, but I'm glad that we finally got to read it, because it
for sure
filled me with so much joy.
And 22 more books and possibly various novellas to go. Who are the other books going to be about? Because there's only 12 women. So there's 10 more. You think it's like the next gen, or like there'll be another shipment or something?
Well, it seems when I was like trying to scope out the descriptions, it seemed like there may be like some books where like the story is told across 2 books. You know what I mean? So like books, I'm totally making this up, but like books 11 and 12 are about the same couple or something.
Makes sense.
You know?
All right, Catskill. I think we all know where this is headed.
Oh my God. He spent the entire time purring. Like with that alone, even if they weren't like cats themselves.
The only thing I would possibly knock off a point for is the lack of snowcat domestication. But
well, maybe here's my thing, Rachel. The cats are free. Maybe they're actually
What do
just
you
being
mean?
respectful of the snow cat's desire to remain like free and wild and hunt.
okay, but that's what like domestication like.
No,
you lure 'em
domestication
in.
happened was because we left like bits of uneaten food by the fire, and then the wolves
Sure.
came
So
up and ate it.
Give the snow cats something that is not your own flesh, and not a bitter meal. Give them a delicious meal, and they will come willingly.
Well, the problem is that because I think this is an ice planet, they can't like. So in the human context, we're thinking humans are like outside in the middle of a field or whatever, and so it's easy for the wolves to approach. Whereas like the barbarians, the Saqui, are in caves,
but they
so
hunt
like
all the time.
they have to specifically allow. Yes, but when they hang out in they still hang out when they have the fire. They also don't cook things. You have to remember that.
Well, I
They're
bet the
not
snow
cooking
cats
anything.
eat their meat raw too.
Yeah, I don't know.
Unclear.
I still think. Oh my god, it was so
great.
cat-like.
Yeah, good
So
times.
it seems like the self-published books, I think, like really just like knock it out. Like they understand the influence of cats on romance.
Yep.
This whole book is like cats have speaking roles.
Yep.
Like that's the whole
on
book.
both sides. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
1, 2, 3, 10.
10.
Nice.
I'm still conflicted about whether 9 or 10, but if you're saying 10, it can't be 9.5. So
We can't. We've done 0.5s before.
I just don't feel good about the 0.5s. It's just not a good vibe.
I just feel like you can't be. You have to say the score that speaks to your soul, Rachel. You can't base it on what my score is. That's why you have to say it at the same time as me instead of constantly delaying. Do you want a 9 or a 10?
I mean, but it really is off the charts in all ways, and I feel like the fact that the snow cats exist, like, just should add to it. It should be additive, not subtractive.
Yes.
Whatever.
Yes.
All right. Nice.
Maybe there's domestication in a later book.
Maybe
we'll have to report back. This was delicious.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that in a few generations, once we introduce democracy, there may be room to lead the Saqui on like a communist revolution.
I feel like they're already they live in a communal.
They are very communal. That's true.
Yeah.
Because they're assigned by like, there's like the hunters.
Yeah. And women can be hunters, which is going to be important. We learned that Liz is a champion archer. Yeah. It's a detail we left out. I feel like that's going to be important.
What if she like shoots Rahash? She's just like,
he's going to lose his other horn in one way or another.
And that's like their foreplay. You know what I mean? Violence is foreplay. Okay. All right. Anyway,
where can they find us, Allison?
So they can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at We Read It One Night. On Twitter at We Read It Podcast, because Twitter has a character limit. Otherwise, we would have done at We Read It One Night. And you can also email us at wereaditonenight@gmail.com. And please, please, please leave us a rating and a review and follow us and download your episode, please, like when you listen to it, because that's how most podcast sites like track their metrics. And that really helps us. And if you are on Apple Podcasts, I don't know how many other podcast sites allow you to rate and review, but on Apple Podcasts, you can. So please, please do that, because that also like helps us tremendously in tricking that good algorithm into getting us into other people's recommended feeds.
Godspeed, comrades.
Godspeed.